And we are live.
Asegúrese de dar me gusta y suscribirse.
This channel is for mature audiences only. If you're underage on this channel, your parents' mom should have swallowed them or spit them out.
What's up? This is Saturday afternoon Embers. Pick up to Friday Night Blaze. I'm your host, Baron Yeah. I'll get the links out so that people can join in a bit, but I gotta say some things about the Blaze and my thoughts uh, regarding it, and I also got to say some things that I know that Tico would say, but Tico can't be here right now to say it. So I'm gonna say the shit, and we're gonna all move on from it. Basically, is how I see it. But this the beginning part of this podcast is gonna be just talking, just my thoughts, and I'm gonna get these links out as they come along. Um, the problem I've always realized that exists about weak men is that they tend to find a place to congregate and a place to voice their ideas out so that somebody can to validate them. And it's been a recurring thing when you see weak men that they like to, well, weak men and emotional men for the most part is that they always want to get their point across. You can typically you could see weak men um, for the most part saying things in conversation like, can I talk, can I finish talking, um, when are you going to let me finish, things like that. And that's how you can tell that somebody's being emotional or they're playing an emotional side of the argument. So, and typically I see it a lot now in live streams, or to be fair, out in public. I see a lot of people who get into a heated argument and they don't know why they're so heated, why they're so emotional about something, why something bothers them. And typically it's because weak men are very impressionable, and therefore a lot of people can influence them to behave a certain way. Typically that's how it works. A strong man, you'll never really see him do what somebody else does just to do it because they're doing it. A weak man, on the other hand, you can definitely see them exhibiting things, qualities of a strong man, but never being able to live up to those qualities or always taking a low road to get to those qualities that they admire in a strong man. One example that I already gave about letting somebody finish talking is you basically you're being emotional in that moment because you're not willing to listen to what the other person has to say, whether or not they interrupt you or not. If you say, let me talk, or can I finish talk? Can I finish my point? Or why won't you let me finish? These are typically the traits that you'll see weak men exhibiting in an argument. And it's sad, but it's so true that most men are able to have a decent conversation with someone calm and not let it get out of hand. But when you hear things like that, typically that's when you know you're dealing with somebody who's weak or emotional, or the child of a single mother. Typically, is or who those people are. Another thing that they'll do in the conversations is typically they'll start to gaslight you. Sometimes they know that you're gaslighting. Sometimes they know that they're gaslighting. Sometimes they don't even know that they're gaslighting somebody, but they're gaslighting in the conversation as it's happening. And that they'll tell a person, "Oh, I've never heard of this before. Oh, I've never seen that. I can't believe that someone would actually do this. Why would somebody do something like this?" And that's how you know that you're dealing with somebody who's looking for validation for somebody else. Another thing that they'll say is, "Oh, because of the way I am, that's never happened to me. How could that happen?" Basically, blaming the situation on the person who's shared that thing, or blaming all of the actions on what happened to a certain person on that person, and not trying to understand it more on a deeper level. Typically, that's when you'll see most weak men, how they formulate the argument. They kind of like test the room out and see how everyone's feeling before they do these tactics. So that's mostly how it works. Moving on from that, a lot of men will get trolled. Um, a lot of emotional men can get trolled very easily, and you see this happening a lot. You see this happening a lot in the manosphere. So a man will be getting trolled by someone in the comments section, and their immediate reaction is to spurg out and yell at the person and tell that person that they don't know what they're talking about, or we know way more about you than what you know about us. Kind of this whole like bargaining thing with the commenter, and it's sad, but that's when you get into group gatherings like this. Most people aren't even cognizant of what they're doing, how they're expressing themselves. They mostly just go along with the group think, and they go along with how other people are perceiving the situation. So if the situation's good, go ham, basically. Say the most crazy, outlandish, stupid stuff, and nothing will happen to you because I'm in a group. Typically that's how riots work. Everyone's in a group, everyone's in their emotions. Somebody does one thing to sort of escalate the situation. Somebody bashes in a mirror or a glass or a window. All of a sudden, you got everybody bashing glasses and bashing windows, all because, oh, I was feeling a certain type of way, and that person made me freak out to the point where now I'm adding to the problem by causing more mayhem than is necessary. And it's stuff I see all the time, and it's just crazy. I don't understand how you could say that you exhibit qualities of a man, yet you do this stupid shit on a regular fucking basis. And it's just stupid. It doesn't make you look good as a man when you're it doesn't make you look good to anybody. And you have a bunch of people around you agreeing to perceiving the situation the same way, and yet deep down you know it's not a good look for you. In fact, it makes everybody around you, regardless of how strong they are, it makes them look weak whenever you do stupid shit like this. And I see it all the time. It happens all the time. More than we can really even count. And it's sad, but this is the way that people have been raised. This is the way that people operate. This is the way that people regulate their emotions. Is they look for a sign to spaz out, and then all of a sudden they're like, okay, I see the sign. Time to freak out. Time to say a bunch of crazy shit. And it's to me, I can, I'm gonna say this, and it's gonna sound messed up, but I can see why people are dropping the acronym, because when you do stuff like this, it really doesn't, like, no matter, regardless of how people who want to say, oh, this isn't a group, oh, we're not a movement, we don't act like a group, regardless of people who say that, you I like I can name you a few times where people want to say it's not a group, but they act like it's the Salem witch trials, or they're a group of people, a mob of people trying to chase somebody down because of something that they said in the comments section. And it's sad, but this is the stuff that people don't want to admit or say publicly, or they want to represent something as better than it really is when it really isn't. Kind of things that women do, like a trait characteristic of female nature, female behavior, is to spruce something up so that it looks better. And right now, a lot of people are trying to make something look better than what it really is. And I'll be first to admit, a lot of shit is messed up in my life, in people's lives. A lot of shit shouldn't really be talked about or bragged about or validated in another person. And you should, to quote traversable philosophy, who said it better on many occasions, it's your responsibility to improve your own life. No one's going to improve your life for you. At the end of the day, it's something you got to do by yourself. And what's up? What's up to my lurkers in the comment section? See you pimping. What's good? What's good, all you people? But it's just something it's so ridiculous to me that people don't ever take upon themselves, or take it upon themselves to do. And it's like you're making feminists look rational. You're making people who troll the manosphere seem like legitimate people to do. Like it's a job that needs to be done, because these people are think way too highly of themselves, without any sort of culture, without any sort of discipline, and they just spout off at the mouth just because of some comment that somebody said. And it's just ridiculous. Like, why on earth would you want the manosphere to be painted like that? Why would you want anybody to look like that? And the sad thing is, you don't even make other people look as bad as you make yourself look whenever you do stupid stuff like that. And Billy the Goat, what's up, Billy the Goat? But yeah, this Embers is supposed to be an after party, but we're still blazing on this on this thing. We're still blazing. And it's sad that I have to mention this, but no one else will mention it because this is the kind of stuff that that people think is cool, or they think is hip, or they're kind of goth, or they're kind of emo. They're kind of, yeah, you can put the nipple paint away because this isn't a nipple paint kind of stream for me. I'm sorry, man. I love the nipple paint. I think it looks good, but today is not a nipple paint kind of day. But moving on from that, it's just like the things that I hear now blow my mind. It's like when I used to look at Red Pill and MGTOW stuff, that stuff seemed like common sense, like things, words to live by, wisdom, advice. Now all I hear is some stupid shit from over here, some stupid advice from over here from a person who's made a bunch of mistakes, some stupid advice over here. Just be you or be yourself. Just things that any blue pill person would say. So like what is the deal? What is the actual? If you can't help yourself with something, then what is giving somebody some ready-made, some craft single advice on what to do with their life? If you still have stuff that you have to sort out. And another thing too, with all the sharing and sharing of stories and stuff that goes on in the manosphere, you would think that the people had like a little bit more self-esteem and confidence and wherewithal and background to deal with certain situations. And I notice this that time and time again. Anytime there's a tense situation, someone fails to live up to their responsibility. And it's something that is goes along with my overall topic of weak men. Because I realize now, like when the chips fall, a lot of people come up empty-handed, or a lot of people play all their cards and they get shafted. Yeah, and it's just it's just so it pains my heart to see a philosophy that was once so focused and so determined turn into a bunch of just each other helping one another get through. It's like help yourself before you help somebody else. That's always been my thing. Help yourself. Then once you get to a certain situation, you can help somebody else. And there's all this like giving and stuff going on and donating and like paying respect is good and everything, but sometimes it doesn't improve you at all to pay someone your respects unless that person was unless that person has been with you from when you were a young person, or they've done something for you very impactful in your life. And we kind of play this up too, like all this impact and stuff that we do that supposedly is happening in the atmosphere. I don't I don't really I don't buy it. Like I know that there are people who have had smaller channels that other people have reached out and sort of shouted out, said, "Hey, go over there and help that person boost their channel." That makes sense. That makes sense. But to think that we all help each other out by airing our dirty laundry out in public, or by showing public displays of affection and public displays of offense and disgust at people who are into the comment section, or in and around the manosphere, or women, or people, or addressing things that have nothing to do about men in the first place. that's when I have a problem with it. Like if you're addressing or praising a man because he ignored a woman and did his own thing and improved upon himself, that's great. That's baseline for what a man should be. A man shouldn't be dealing with all these issues over here, dealing with all these issues on this other side, and then when he's exhausted, finally coming to the fore and saying, now we can talk about some real shit. Because it's a tiring thing. And it's all about self-reflection. It's all about that introspective moment. Like me, I have 100 of them in the first, like every single time I have to transition, whether I'm leaving the house to go to work, leaving my work to go to the house, leaving the house to go do errands, getting back to my errands, getting back from my to my house from my errands. Um, what do I need? Let me observe. Let me feel. This to put to the traversable philosophy has said it better than me at times. Put myself in my own shoes instead of put myself in another person's shoes. Get into get into my own mental space. Am I okay to be in front of people right now? Am I trying to be my happiest self when I'm in front of other people who impact my life or who have an influence in my life? Am I draining other people? Am I interrupting them? Am I cutting them off without listening to what they're saying fully? These are the kind of things that you have to do and think about on a regular basis, or else you'll get involved in this stuff. We say we're always one blow job away from the plantation. This is the exact same thing. You're one All you are is one situation from going back to being emotional and weak. That's all it takes is one situation. And you're back to showing everybody how you really feel, showing everybody what's really deep that's bothering you. That frankly, a lot of people are have grown comfortable because it's the manosphere and all, but it's stuff that you should really only be showing yourself. And the fact that we have a space where we show this all publicly, it's just sad. It's sad, but it's what we're dealing with this, and what we need to learn is how to properly deal with it and how to mitigate all the stuff that comes from it. Because I'm all for people getting what they need out. That's why I think I don't believe in giving people money for free, for all just willy nilly. Like, here's a bunch of money, here's a bunch of resources, here's a bunch of help. Because no matter, like, they're always going to abuse that at the end of the day. And what's up, Mega Man? Just good to see you, man. Um, I'll send you a Discord link right now so you can hop on in. And yeah, it's just they're betraying the self. Yep, and they're abandoning themselves, and they're leaving the fate of their life up to somebody else. It's like they've thrown their hands up and they're saying I can't take it anymore. Someone just come swoop in, and it shows me that people are fed up with how things are generally. I'm gonna talk about this real quick uh, first before I start sending out links. Yeah. But like this whole thing, and I mean, Tico said this before. Tico Trend said this before. When it comes to facts versus how you feel, a person's not going to a person's not going to enjoy talking to you if all they hear from you is just facts, facts, interrupting you with facts, combating your argument with facts. Everything's facts, 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 facts. At a certain point, our minds are geared to tune out any information because it's just information overload. And so we're geared once we hear enough people shouting facts or virtue signaling what they know, which you see a lot on the left, which for some reason has come out in the manosphere in a huge way now, and we're already in 2021, and people are still talking about all the stuff they know, how nobody knows anything else, or nobody knows more than what they know, or whatever. But it's just unbelievable. What's up, Americus DeVille? Americus DeVille says, "What is up?" It's good. Hashtag Baron. Yep. But like the fact that everyone has to I see people just going into the most weirdest circles of people and just spouting a bunch of facts, thinking that somehow they're going to impress some girls, or they're going to get some men to go over to their channel and do stuff over on their channel, and it's just like so abnormal, so asinine, and so like it's just this whole idea of networking that I feel like has gotten us into the problem that we were in the first place. Just spreading ourselves out extremely thin, without a lot of psychological backing, without a lot of reason or motive to do it. Just doing it, thinking that that's going to get you somewhere, just because. Just let it go. Just let it happen. And it's just people, weak men are just so impressionable. They just go along with whatever sounds good. Oh, what are we doing? Making fun of this person? All right, I'm in. And they don't even think a second. They don't even take a second thought about it. This shit is just crazy. But now I'm gonna send out some invitations and get some, so we can get some discussion going. Mega Man, I sent you a link in the Discord, so go ahead. Billy the Goat. See if anybody's popped in yet. Here as the authoritarian, and and it's like people want to appear as the authoritarian nowadays, which I think is crazy given like the state of like the way that politics kind of corrupt things. It's like why make it so that there's only a centralized power? And what's up? We got Mega Man here in the studio.
What's going on, gentlemen? Everybody in the chat, to the brothers,
Hello. Blaze brothers, Embers brothers, we're all here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. First, I want to say big props to Mr. fucking MGTOW, aka the hidden MGTOW, for taking control of what was beginning to turn into a dumpster fire. And I will say outright that I'm not always right. I'm not always on par. sometimes even my comments can go a little too far sometimes. So I'm here to take some responsibility for some of the dumpster fire that happened last night. What took place didn't have to happen, but unfortunately, because of the individual that was in there, because of a lot of older beefs that took place in the past between myself and some other people, obviously some of the gentlemen that were in the stream later on are going through a similar situation. I'm not going to get into their ins and outs, but one man right now is being accused of kidnapping a female. You guys see what I'm going through, these constant attacks by these people that, quite frankly, are engaging in a coordinated effort to shut down the manosphere. Unfortunately, it's led someone like myself to sometimes go too far. So on behalf of myself to the brothers in the stream last night, I offer my apologies if things kind of got out of hand last night, because, I don't want to see any of my brothers getting attacked. I certainly cannot tolerate the attacks any longer. I mean, Jesus Christ, I even got a piece of paper from someone who's threatening to sue me simply because I criticize them. And it's got to a point where, like, there is this effort to shut us down from even talking. And somebody like myself who, and forgive me for grandstanding here, but somebody who has a big channel is going to be the subject of these attacks. However, there are people that are out there that are up to no good. One of them was in the comment section last night. Myself and a few others know this individual, and unfortunately, like what you said, and I have to agree sometimes, even with myself, and I'm guilty of this, and I accept that, and if I got to get roasted for it, then so be it, man. That sometimes, I look at things from a father's perspective with someone who has been proven a long time ago. And I'm not a lawyer. I'm not claiming to be some sort of legal analyst or anything like that. But, this particular individual, I look at through the lens of a father now. That, when you have certain people that are out there, and there are creepy people out there, and you have kids like I do, you instantly go into that patriarchal mindset to defend your kids against these particular people. So that's what drove what I did last night. My words, and I want to make sure this is out there publicly, my words are my own words. They do not reflect on the gentlemen that were in the live stream last night. Hidden MGTOW did the right thing by saying that he was going to mute my mic. I decided from that point on to just sit back and listen all night until I passed out and fell asleep on the couch, to just sit back and listen. So he did the right thing. He was correct to take charge and take control. So, I accept responsibility for some of that dumpster fire that happened last night. So I just want to apologize to the brothers.
Gotcha. Billy the Goat?
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm not sure what exactly transpired. It sounds like something happened last night on a live stream. I don't know anything about this. But I'm kind of getting the gist of the topic at hand, which sounds like a very important one.
Well, it is an important one. It is an important one, but it's just this isn't something that normally people talk about in the manosphere. So it's like it's not just about yesterday. It's about what is the state of affairs? What's the situation?
Yeah,
I need to
need
to report.
I don't need to hear the particular nitty gritty of what transpired, but from the sound of the topic at hand, where it seems like you're talking about behaviors, conducting oneself, interactions, the dismay and like a collapse of sorts, and difficulties and things like that. So this where to begin really unpacking it all. From my point of view, it doesn't sound too surprising. We're seeing more and more people. It's like this spiral of self-destruction, and as it spirals, it picks up speed, and the spiral gets tighter and tighter. So to see outbursts or ludicrous or accusations or off the wall kind of stuff isn't a big shocker from a psychological point of view. adding with all of that, when you look at people who are trying to recover, it's only a very, very tiny, small percentage of people who actually get like, if you can even say to the point of being like recovered, healed. There's typically scarring involved, and this would be across the board in terms of therapy. So if we look at how MGTOW or Red Pill is kind of like meant to be therapy in a sense, there's going to be a tiny fraction of a percentage who actually take on board seriously what it all entails and does the hard work in order to get themselves in at least a better situation, or like to get by in life kind of thing, which means the vast majority of us won't. And if anything,
Right.
any injuries we have or people have will go unresolved and either have a knock-on effect in other areas of their life, or they end up becoming in this sort of perpetual state of like cycles of trying to heal but not quite doing it properly, so they end up causing themselves more problems which they need to be healed. So they just it can be kind of disparaging when you think of it in that sense, but it's I mean it kind of goes back to the look, if a person isn't willing to, like you said, help themselves, which involves confronting pain, being honest, they are it's going to be very difficult for them. Now it gets even harder if they've grown up not being or grown up without the tools to deal with such pain, because it's easy to say like, look, just do some self-reflecting and then your life will be better. Well, how can they do that when they don't have the tools and there isn't much of a self there in the first place in order to self-reflect? It's like asking someone to fly when they haven't got any wings. It's just not going to really happen. What you might end up with is like an artificial resolution to their situation. They might be so used to deluding themselves that they believe they have a sense of self. And this is why I have that kind of catchphrase, which like, who are we? We're yet to know, because a lot of us are strangers to ourselves. And
true.
I mean, it kind of gets with people becoming more divided and spiraling into kind of like coping mechanisms and whatever methods they have to try and deal with essentially the pain. It becomes clearer, those of us who actually are trying to do the hard work to recover and heal, and those who are either deflecting or putting it off or trying to escape. So from a point of view of people who are serious about it all, it can be quite frustrating to see what around you, everything else is falling apart. So a divide, a chasm growing is another thing that we can expect to see happen. And unfortunately, because that is those recovering are in like the minority group, well, the majority are going to do things like try and bring you down, try to shame, discredit, because obviously your road to recovery is unfortunately triggering their pain responses, because they can see you recovering and they either envy it or jealous of it, or they want to bring you down.
They just push you away, type thing.
Yeah. So, so those are some of the things that we can kind of expect. I mean, it makes it clearer for us who is in pain and who is facing their pain. But that doesn't really help the majority of people who are going through it. It just means that
No,
it
no,
just means
which
that
is
at
why
least
it's bad advice. Which is why it's bad advice to give somebody to if they're going through a tough time to, just be yourself or be or just do some self-reflection type thing.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's bad advice. That's bad advice to give somebody who is
yeah.
in a painful situation because they probably don't want to reflect
It's
on themselves, or they have
yeah.
some sort of escape
Well, they're not
topic.
going to yeah, because to them they're going to look at that as if it's criticism or you're attacking them or you're in their face pointing a finger kind of thing. I mean, it's better to lead by example than it is to dictate, because to them it will seem like
Tell someone.
you're telling me what to do kind of thing. So it's better to kind of like keep your mouth shut, really. If if you're trying to help someone else, like from a point of view, it's better to just give them an example and gentle. And this is kind of like with children, going back into this parenting idea, which is very true, because if they're in a lot of pain, haven't got a sense of self, they haven't got the tools. I mean, that's essentially we're looking at children, because children don't have those those attributes. So you have to look at it from as if like a parental point of view, and lead by example. And at the same time, that's not just like lead a good example, but you've got to kind of like police yourself and not teach bad examples. But that's, of course, if you even want to be trying to help the other person. If you're recovering and you're having to confront the harsh truth of reality, which is you yourself haven't been brought up very well. I mean, if you can at least save yourself, I mean, that's already a victory in that sense. It's whether or not you want to try and help other people, and at the same time, you shouldn't really have the expectations that you are going to be able to help them. There might be nothing you can do. Like what? Because like if they've got no sense of self, maybe they've abandoned the inner self totally. There's no one there to save. So in which case, it's, as sad as it sounds, you're going to end up witnessing someone's destruction, someone's inevitable destruction. Yeah, and
Right.
You have to separate yourself at that point, because otherwise you'll.
That's why I think pushing away is better at that point, because you have less control than you want to give yourself. So you just give yourself some distance.
Well, you don't need to necessarily push
whatever.
them. You don't need to, because what will happen is they'll push themselves away. All you need to do is just make sure you're disconnected from that, so that you don't get pulled in, because that'll be another element. Because like an energy source, as they're struggling to get by in life, their energy. I'm not trying to sound spiritual, but they will require like a caretaker. They will require a healthy person to try and see them through life. Well, if you disconnect that, they can't exactly do that. I mean, they'll be kicking, they'll be screaming, they'll be in desperation. And again, we've probably seen elements of this already, where people are desperate. Like, look at this girl, the gorilla glue in her hair. She's desperate for anything.
She is desperate.
And we see more and more. We're probably going to see even more bonkers stuff, like off completely. Like, why is this person not in a mental institute by now? Kind of behavior. And the majority of people will probably laugh at it and think it's kind of funny and foolish, but they're not taking on board the serious gravitas of just how mentally damaged someone has to be to get to that kind of bat shit crazy state.
Things have gone just over the top now.
But things
have gone completely over the top.
Things worked out good for her.
Yeah.
Because
and then I want to hear from Mega Man too.
Okay.
We gotta all talk equally, but.
Oh yeah, because she literally got what so-called high value man to take her issue into consideration and fix it, and she got $25,000.
That's not necessarily a good outcome.
It's to her. I mean, no. You're right. To me, it's not. But people are looking at that from a different lens. Like, hold up, she got a lot of attention and a lot of money for that. You're right. As logical guys, that shit makes no sense to us. But I can see how women can look at that and say, okay, she won.
Yeah, well, did you hear about the guy who was watching that? Thought because he thought she was being over the top, he decided to glue his lip to a cup. Now doctors are talking about removing his lips.
Wow.
That Money AD told me that might be fake.
Maybe, but at the same time, it's kind of like not that far fetched.
Because
don't underestimate the stupidity of people. Yeah. If you guys remember way back when people were suing McDonald's for hot coffee cups, and now as a result of that, coffee cups now have a cardboard sleeve around them to avoid lawsuits. Unfortunately, we live in a society of con artists and scam artists, and I've said this all the time on my channel, that people want to live for free. They don't want to do nothing. They want the easy payouts, and if you don't give it to them, if you don't bow down, if you don't take the knee, look at what's happening with Gina Carano. If you don't give us what we want, we will attack you. I'm one of those guys that's going through it right now on a daily basis over on my channel. You guys see it all the time. If they don't get what they want, if you don't sound how they want, if you don't talk how they want, if you don't act how they want, they will come after you, and they will find a way, and they want the easy payout. They want the easy money. They want everything to be handed to them, and that's what this woman did. I'm quite sure she's not as stupid as we all think she is. People do these things. It's all premeditated. It's easy money, man. It's easy money and easy attention. Michael Jackson, you know, I think was famously quoted, or somebody said this quote, but Michael Jackson's a perfect example of this. Bad press is still good press.
Yep. She can't. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I hate that this girl capitalized. I hate that you can somewhat see a light at the end of that tunnel, because it's just a scam artist. It's just scam artist. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, what we're seeing, like, we've got this great reset idea floating around the world, and what that is really is the great disconnect from reality itself. Because reality has now become so difficult for many people to fit into, they are wanting, well, they want perfection. So this is kind of like stemming from narcissistic behavior, the idolized lifestyle, the perfected life, and they can't have that if the real world is in existence. So this great reset is to eliminate the real world and for everyone to live in their fantasy, where everything is perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed it because I see guys all the time. They walk around and they're very rude, or to other people, or they have like the chip on their shoulder, like the emotional people, like the emotionally weak people. You can see they always are kind of playing the tough guy exterior type thing, and it's just like at the some point you got to look deep down and like just live in the real world, say hi to people and be happy to people, and that's something that they just can't do, or for some reason they have.
It's too painful.
Yeah, I mean, so sick and tired. I don't know about the rest of you guys, man, but I'm so sick and tired of having to watch what I say, watch what I do. Oh, look out, you're going to offend this person. Oh, look out, this. And I'm tired of being so held down and so held back by people that literally like are offended that you took a step with your right foot first. It's ridiculous.
what it does is it lets you bottle it up, and then you unleash it on someone who they didn't know they were going to get yelled at, or they didn't know that they were going to get whatever you did however long it built up, whatever it is you have to end up doing. So it turns that person's whole day into like a, wow, what I do to deserve this type thing. And then they start feeling the same thing too.
There's a couple of things that will help some of us. Number one, don't take it personally. These attacks against you, accusations, or methods of trying to control you, is not a personal thing. It's because they're the ones with the issues. I mean, I heard an article where, I think it was a feminist, but the point is that they were trying to accuse buildings of being phallic symbols. So this is where it's like the total rejection of reality, where they really want to live in a fair in an imaginative world of like clouds and rainbows, where if you've got a tree, that tree will trigger a reality injury in them because it's reminding them where they belong, like you're reminding you of where you are, you're on Earth kind of thing. So
it really reminds me, sorry, I gotta interrupt with SCPs, like the special containment procedures. It really, this reminds me of like an anomalous end of reality event where just everything is destroyed because we all control each other with all these weird
yeah, I
these
mean,
like weird portal thoughts that just dead.
This is
it's so weird. Okay, yeah.
The collateral damage of self-destruction, where it's like dominoes, where I mean, it's one thing if you have healthy people in reality trying to work together, you develop a society. But now imagine where every individual is living their own reality. There's going to be clashes even among. I mean, we talk about how like they end up eating themselves. This is because one fantasy is going up against another fantasy. So if everyone's living with their own deluded fantasy of anything but reality, they're going to start attacking each other. It's not going to be harmonious. There will be no society. And if you come along because you're a minority representing the truth or representing reality, it's not because of you as a person. It's because you are seen as object other. And so at some point, they probably will come after you for just being a symbol of, because they'll project all their pain and injuries onto
but they love they love Quentin Tarantino, but they hate when an Asian person does the stuff that he copies on screen. It's like, no, you can't do that. That's only meant for white people to emulate. Like,
I'll be the first one. I'll be the first one to admit, and this is something that even I talked about last time with you, Baron, when you asked me some questions where, where's the balance in all this? There's that line, and even I'm guilty once in a while. And recently, very recently, I can see even with myself too, even what happened last night, the frustration does build up after a while. And I am guilty, just like anybody else, man, that sometimes, I'm going to cross that line sometimes. If you're somebody like myself, which many of you guys know, who are constantly being attacked or framed as one thing when you're not, like I said, one of our fellow content creators last night is going through that right now, where he's being accused of kidnapping a woman, for example, and all of this stuff. And when you're on the receiving end of that, after a while, you can only be stoic for so long before it just becomes overwhelming. And in my circles offline, and I've said this quite often, I do have a base of friends offline who are also viewers who don't participate with us, but I do network with them in real time offline. And this is something I said in the new subset of videos I'm making on my channel, as a matter of fact, that it is clear that there is, and even some of you guys even hinted to it, there's a coordinated effort against myself. There is a coordinated effort in a coup to shut me up, to silence me, make me go away. It seems the evidence is piling up that one individual was either jealous of my relationship, jealous of my name in New York City, jealous that everywhere I go, people would know who I was, with me being in newspapers, with the notoriety that came from being, at the Trade Center in 9/11. All of this stuff now is beginning to surface little by little by little, and it figures who it's coming from. And I've outright had it taken. I, by choice, took down one of my playlists because my anger was focused on a group who, in fact, was co-opted by this one individual, which you guys have seen trolling on your individual channels, that literally is jealous. A jealous individual. And that is what I think exploded. What came out in me, I think, last night was just the frustration. And lately it's been showing in my content, and I own that, And like I said to the brothers in the manosphere, I apologize for letting that frustration out.
Maga Man, if this helps you, bro, there's a couple of things to maybe have a little ponder about. One, what you're describing is what would be called a reactive response. So if you have people all around you, all beating you down, they're trying to break your boundaries. At some point, I mean, you can have a saint of a figure and if you keep browbeating them,
Like,
they
does
will
it feel good to be beaten down? Yeah.
They will lash out
Does it?
in a defensive kind of way. Does that mean they're abusing or they're an abuser? No, it just means that they've got their own self-defense measures as well. So it's not surprising that, you know, like, you might lash out as a reaction. What will be important is to get away from that situation, because these people, especially if we're talking about narcissism, their goal is to corrupt you. They want you to be like them. You know, like, they want you to end up losing your sense of self. So if you go animalistic and beast mode, they've won. So it's kind of like, if you need to respond in an aggressive way to get yourself out of the situation, do so. Try not to respond aggressively and then stay there. By having the
thing you got to realize about a narcissist is that if they're beating you down, that means you already got them hooked. So it's your choice whether to let them go or to keep them in the boat, let them flop around for a little bit.
One of the little flags to our inner self right now, and I'm not criticizing you, Maga Man.
Keep talking, guys. I'll be right back.
You were just telling us
about. We got America Seville in the building. Everybody, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
What up?
America's top.
Because you were
good to hear from you, man.
Reciting your issues with us, Maga.
Yes.
In a way, like, so you think and so you give it life. So by talking about them, even if it's in a bad way, you're giving them a little bit of your energy. Like you were sharing it with us just now, moments ago. So
exactly.
I mean, I understand it, and it's bothering. You know, it's on your mind. So it's a logical and reasonable, like you would expect to happen. So to combat that, if you can kind of like put a lid on it. I mean that in a polite way, you know, like, I'm not trying to like shut up, but
recycle it and back into who you are, and, you know, instead of like, it's not you. I'm not talking to you. You're fine.
If you can get to a point where it's like shit happens to all of us, some of this shit that happens stays with us, and some of it we forget totally about. So if you can kind of categorize it, like, let's say, I don't know, you step on a Lego brick and it left a bruise in your foot. Most likely, give it a couple of years and you'll totally forget that incident ever happened. It means nothing to you. It's just a Lego brick. So obviously when people are attacking you, it's a bit, the injury they're trying to inflict is a bit greater than a Lego brick. But it's that kind of, if you can just categorize it in there, then it shows that you're not fazed by it, if you get what I mean.
No, I understand completely. You know, that's why I decided, you know, let me come into this. Even last night, I'm like, let me just sit back and just relax until I fall asleep on the couch. You know, and I'll be the first one to admit, you know, I'm not always right. I'm not always on, not always 100%. You know, eventually, you know, it's just going to be like, you know what I mean? I don't know if you guys ever reached that point where it's like, you can only be so level for so long before it's like, So, you know,
the first thing we learn in argumentation is that, that's how you get that's how you get to people, is you try to target their emotions, and that's how you'll grab their attention. But it's all about what they do in response to that. That basically sets you up for your audience. So what you're giving people is positive energy. Like, you're giving people a lot of positive energy. So when you give the troll, or you give somebody who's giving negative energy to you positive energy, it makes them want to do it more, because that's how they see you.
Yeah,
I mean, hooked by you.
You look at it from. Have you guys heard of the locus of control? So when you're defending yourself by talking about the other person, like, they did this, they did that, it's kind of like, well, what are you doing? So less of them and more about what you're doing.
It's like in elementary school when you do show don't tell type thing, like show don't tell, or like when they say we don't like tattletales or whatever. That's like the same. It goes on the same lines. Like, people people want to see you doing something bad. They don't want to hear somebody telling you that they did something bad because they get doubt. They get doubt.
They want to see you losing control, and this is what it's about. So
which is why they use trigger words. They use trigger words, and like people got triggered a lot last night. That's why I came on here and was talking the way I was talking, because that's all I saw.
I'm actually happy you did this. I'm very happy you did this, by the way.
No, I'm just trying to say to people, like, intervention. Anybody want an intervention? It's like, let's go. What's that? I'll be in it too. Like, intervene on each other.
We need to learn the art of letting go. It sounds simple and like easy, but letting go is something it's very difficult. It's very challenging. And when you learn that as a control, you control letting go, then you're giving yourself that inner strength. You can assert your boundaries better. It sounds like that's what you did, Magaman, when you said that you had your mic turned off and you had enough of that. That was a brilliant move, because you're disconnected from the argument. You're centering yourself again, and you're placing it's kind of like you're reuniting with yourself in the cosmos in a sort of spiritual sense.
Exactly.
So I'll be back in a moment, fellas. My kid is wanting something.
Yeah, exactly.
You could be as brittle. You could be as brittle as the gingerbread man, right? But as long as you got the confidence to rock those gumdrop buttons, no one can affect you. That's just my whole thoughts on it.
That's the whole.
Yeah, go ahead.
That was the whole purpose of the gingerbread man. I'm the gingerbread man. Catch me if you can.
Mm-hmm. Just because he's weak doesn't mean that he's not going to develop, things to keep himself safe. That's what any person should do. The dragon's more at risk and vulnerable than the gingerbread man, because the dragon thinks that he's the shit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I can see that. The big bad wolf, or the brolic guy, I can alpha my way through guy. I can, because I've kind of taken that mentality more, and that shit has dug ditches. I've had to sit back and let things develop so that I could prime example, like me giving the mother of my child full custody of my child when she has it. She's made mistakes, but when we were trying to alpha and push, I wasn't allowing
Yeah,
her.
Tico always says that. He says that no matter what, a man will always trust the mother of his children to take care of his kids, even if he doesn't respect her more than any other person. And that's why when you see like they come into the house with somebody else, you're like, that man, a father is never going to trust that invisible or that perfect stranger to raise their kid.
Nah,
and they're gonna trust the mother more than they trust that perfect stranger.
And the mother is going to trust herself more than that perfect stranger. That's why they don't let the stepfathers discipline these kids like that. Mm-hmm. But what ends up happening is they do make little mistakes, because she wants so much more power. She starts making accusations that are completely not true. So when you start putting a person's body at a place that it never was, now you're starting to slip. But I wasn't allowing her to make. She's not slipping with my child. She's slipping with her egregious need for power. So me not alphaing my way through it, just sitting back, chilling, letting things develop. She did that. Now I have something to stand on when we go back to court. But it didn't come from me.
We have a huge problem with instant gratification. And it's like, when you have a story, this is why I thought it was like Red Pill was cool, but MGTOW's always cool because the stories are just better. Like if you ever listen to the people tell their experiences, it's always in how the story is like panned out, but people just want to rush to the end and just be like, yeah, no, I'm done learning. I've solved everything. Everything's cool. And it's not cool, bro. Like, we can see that it's not cool. And like, it's like, I want I hate that that's the way that things are portrayed. But it's like, for it's like, why can't people just be real and just say what's up?
I got a point to interject. It's like, this is not going to make nobody happy with what I'm going to say, but we're basically living in a culture that's based on anti-life and death. That's what it is. And we can talk about it, and I enjoy talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
But we have
Sure.
to get to the bottom line of what we're dealing with. This is a anti-life culture. Things are inverted. Things are turned upside down, and it's designed that way. And the reason why it's done that way is so they can exert control over you.
Yeah.
See, that's one of the things that I completely agree with what you just said. And I'm highly critical, for example, with the COVID-19 nonsense. I absolutely refuse to wear a mask. I will not allow my personal choice to be infringed upon because of somebody else's fear of germs. And those who know me offline, especially one in particular who's a very good friend, I mentioned him in my videos, who was here last summer, a fellow 9/11 recovery worker. I've gotten into arguments with people right in their face because they will try to shame you into wearing a mask. And it just happened to me fairly recently at one of my local Walmarts, and I picked up that new pellet gun, as a matter of fact, I was showing off, where the woman says, "Sir, how can..." And meanwhile, I'm already shopping in Walmart for 3 hours, and now the cashier all of a sudden decides she's going to publicly shame me because I'm not wearing a mask. I said, "No, I'm not going to put on a mask, and I'm talking like this because you're talking to me like that, because you're trying to publicly shame me. So I'm reaching into my wallet, everybody, since you want to put me on the spot. Here are my medical cards. Since you want to publicly announce that and shame me, I'm going to have you charged with medical assault and battery and harassing a person with a handicap. Do you like that?" She immediately ran and got the manager.
Yeah, if you read a book called Making of a Slave, one of the forms of slavery is you have to control people's speech. And so when you put that mask on, and I'm not saying I don't put it on, because like when I go, let's say if I go shopping or something, I'll be 15 minutes in the store. I'll put it on just because I want to avoid any problem with it.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to wear that thing like 24 hours a day. I'm not going to wear that when I go outside the house or nothing.
It is.
When I go into these public establishments, I'll do it for that 10 minutes that I'm in there.
Well, it's just anything in reason is just ridiculous to these people.
It's an inevitable truth about us as human beings. We have involuntary blinking, involuntary the beating of our hearts, okay? We will die eventually of something, somehow. I could be sitting in my living room like you guys always see when we're in each other's live streams. I could be sitting on my couch in the living room. I got Cheez-Its in front of me right now, low-fat Cheez-Its. I could choke on one of these right now and die. Oops. It's going to happen. You're going to die. That's the way the world works. Reality seems to be a huge problem for people out there. And it's mind-numbing to have to constantly deal with people that want to live in a fantasy world.
They've been brainwashed from like cradle to grave. The thing is that, okay, you gotta acknowledge the fact that when America was founded, it was founded as a republic. The state of California, it says like on the flag that this is the California Republic. So in a republic, the rights of minorities and individuals are protected against the majority. So what the fuck difference does it make if someone doesn't agree with what I'm doing? I'm allowed to do what I want, as long as I'm not.
Well, I think it's like the subject of the people who are interpreting the law. They don't see themselves as having free speech. Therefore, free speech is something that other people have. And when you turn that into a concept or a thinking experiment, most people will just go with what's their self-interest. Just extend the terms out as long as possible. That way I can get as much money as I can from it.
But there's no problem for saying, hey, everybody's wearing a mask, therefore I need to wear a mask. No, how about I just do what I want to do? I'm a free man. I was created from God. I got natural rights. This earth basically belongs to me, as long as I'm not bothering somebody.
Amen.
Stay out of my business.
Well, all that belief's been taken out of them too, and replaced with microbial demons.
I mean, I got a degree in biology, man, and I look at this stuff and it's ridiculous. When I see it's a gene therapy and not like a traditional vaccine, then I'm just thinking, go get shot up and just,
engage in a slow death or whatever. Line up for the shot.
I didn't. I refused to take it. I just refused to. I don't need it. I've been. I work around this shit. I don't even wear an N95. I wear a regular blue mask. I don't wear an N95 at all, even in the hospital. No matter how sick the patient is, because we never did it before.
Exactly.
There was a really bad flu that came around like 3 years ago. That shit was killing everybody. Matter of fact, it was like 3 years ago, right before this COVID-19 shit. There was a flu that ran around. It was fucking killing everybody. I'm talking about young people. 107 core temperatures and shit.
See,
And
but you're in a different position though, because that's the nature of your job. Obviously we all know what you do. That's the nature of your job. But anywhere else, I can see on a construction site, if you're going to wear an N95 particulate mask. In your case, it's kind of a requirement because of the nature of your job. But for me having to go walk down to my mailbox and be forced to put a mask, bullshit.
What I'm saying is, MAGA, you have more masks being worn on construction sites and with lawn keepers that might have allergies to like the cutting grass, or whatever. You have more masks being worn in civility in society than in the hospital. We never wore masks like that until 2020. We never did it. We intubate you. The only people that wore masks like that were surgeons. That's why I call it a surgical mask. Because they're the only ones it's not really a surgical mask, but those are the only ones that wore them. No one else really wore them. Like the pet, no one wore them like that. You never saw them in the hospital prior to this year. No one hardly wore them.
I mean, it interferes with your breathing. It's not even good for you.
See, what I find interesting, I'm diabetic, in case people don't know, and the doctors have told me over the years, I've always known this. They always said, like, look, you can manage your diabetes how you want. So I had to take responsibility, like, to look after my diet and my health. But if I want to be reckless with it, they're like, that's on you, kind of thing. It's your decision. So it's kind of funny when we have this mask conversation, because it's that ability of self-ownership and it's your life, your hands, is being taken away from you. I mean, we already kind of recognize that this whole pandemic mask thing is kind of like taking away our freedom and putting control over us.
And what's sick is that it's in our face all day, every day. The politics is in our faces all day, every day. And this is why I appreciate the conversation here, because I guess I'm kind of looking for advice from my fellow men out there, because I know I'm guilty of this sometimes, where I get myself in way too deep into these subjects, and it's just like, man, finally I had a punching bag. You know what I mean? It's just, it's in our face every day, all the time. You can't get a break from it. It's like,
this is where I find it quite contradictory, because it's like, if a guy wants to, or a girl wants to not wear a mask and run the risk of dying, essentially, then so be it. At least it was their decision. They're taking the responsibility for that. But if you're being prevented to have any responsibility, and then we go back to like earlier about how we're trying to recover and have some self-ownership. I mean, you got the government taking your responsibility of yourself away, your control away. So you as a person, I mean, we already know this anyway, they don't even see us as individual people. We're just a number now. So it's kind of like, it's not surprising that people will find it difficult to feel like they are real, or they matter, or that they're a person even.
I feel like okay, I'm sorry.
So it kind of subtly adds to this whole like detachment of self and identity, and more like you're a stranger to who you are. So yeah, like you put on this mask, it's almost like you're signing over the rights to yourself, your
Exactly.
sovereignty,
Mhm.
you may as well not even exist as a person at this point.
Yeah, they got real slave masters now in the in America. It's like it's back. It's only been 200
like
years, but it's back.
Well,
But then look at the
we're
sheer
walking
stupidity of people, guys. Think about this, though. You know, Irv Gotti will know this for a fact. I think most of us are pretty logical, all right? I look at it in the form of the 3 S's: sweat, snot, and skin cells, okay? So now you got people with snot, sweat, and skin cells on the inside of their masks shopping at Walmart, and then they're worried about germs. Then they go out into the parking lot. They take the mask off. They fling it onto the parking lot asphalt, and then they drive off. So now they just left their snot, skin, and skin cells and sweat on this mask to be spread everywhere. So now we have to worry about wearing masks, but then it's okay to throw the mask away on the parking lot asphalt without any care or regard whatsoever. So where is the reality in that?
And you're denying you're denying the body's own immune system from doing its job.
And then I look at it like a Muslim. Like you can wear you don't have to wear your mask in your house, but as soon as you come outside, you have to put your mask on. It's almost like you're a bad dog that they think will bite.
Or it's like you can show it to your brother, your family, your sister, but you can't show it to your brother-in-law, and it's just like all these weird rules.
It's almost like
I feel like a preschooler.
Yeah, and it's almost like, I hate to bring it up, but it's almost like a certain religion, right? Where the women can show their hair to the women in their family or to their husband, but if they show it to the guy down the street, you're in trouble. Better cover that up.
What they're doing is a medical dictatorship.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. You can talk to these people, but you can't talk to those people. Yeah.
And also, we're all aware that what it's doing is promoting fear amongst the masses.
Like one of the trolls. It's like one of the this fucking dickhead in Queens, in Ridgewood, Queens. I know who he is. I'm not going to say his name. I'm going to save him the embarrassment, okay? I shot a video on my channel of me scooping up a baby diaper with the freaking claw for the garbage that the maintenance guys have. Let's make fun of MAGA man because, oh, look, he's cleaning up baby diapers, ha, ha, ha. But then if you think about it, think about the irresponsible mother or parent that took that diaper and just, carelessly drops it in the middle of a parking lot with baby feces and urine for other kids to potentially step on, rip that diaper apart, spread germs. You know what I mean? Like, where does it fucking end? There's just such a lack of there's such a lack of responsibility. I see this all the time. People they get out of their cars, they pick their ass, they pick their nose, they're giving each other high fives, they touch the shopping carts, and they put a mask on their face. Like, where does it end? You know what I mean? And none of it makes no sense.
If you're a responsible father, then you're going to take care of your children, and that includes putting on their diapers, from time to time.
Yep. And you're going to throw that shit away in the trash like a grown adult. You're going to quit. You're not going to do any of this stuff. I agree.
I don't need it. That's like even right now. If I go outside right now with my camera, I'll show you. I actually made a handmade sign for people to clean up the dog shit off of the fucking grass after they let their dog shit. All right. Why should I, a responsible, clean person, have to step on feces because of a lazy, irresponsible person? That was the point of that video. But of course, the haters and detractors will say, "Oh, MAGA man's content is declining. He's picking up baby diapers." Well, there's a reason why. Because it's unsanitary. Moron. It's unsanitary.
Amazing.
My streets are full of dog poop. There used to be a time where someone would get a cocktail stick with a little flag that says "Please clean this up," and they would put it in there. But yeah, I mean, one of the things I have to educate my kid about is like keep your eyes on the floor and watch out where you're stepping. That's just going to school. But where is this all going to end is, ultimately, the way it's going is a collapse of society, really. Extinction. Exactly. If people are losing self-agency, they're willingly given over control because they can't control themselves. They're passing on responsibility. They're blaming each other. They're scared of each other. They're looking for conflict. They want to attack.
I mean, we still have our I mean, Wynn said it once to me. He said, like, we're dealing with our grandparents' problems.
Yeah.
And like when they died, all the stuff that they never got to understand or figure out, it falls on us to to accomplish that or to discover that. And I'm just like, when he told me that, I was like, that's crazy.
But we're doing even
And then,
worse.
yeah, we are.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bitter pill to swallow to think that the majority of us born like talking right now and across the world, we were raised by neglectful parents. They did not love us in the way that we needed to be loved. This is why we end up here. So yes, we have inherited the problems of the past.
Yes, this is biblical because the Bible says the children will suffer from the sins of their parents.
Yeah, I mean, the future generation, my kids' generation, is already, I don't know what hope she has for a future. I mean, we're kind of fortunate that we're at a point in societal development where there is a small chance that things could turn around, where everything becomes better, because we're able to share information, we're able to talk. A lot more studies have been going on, a lot more like psychology has really picked up in the last decade. So it's quite so the information we're talking about is pretty new. Now you compare that with the hundreds of generations before us, you can see how it's going to be a difficult challenge. But that being said, only I said it before, like only a handful of people will really understand and get to grips and do something about it. The rest will probably go further into denial and delusion, because denial is there to protect the person. So all these problems stem from pain and injury, which kind of comes back from the parental of not loving us in the right way. Because our parents didn't love us.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my man. No, go ahead. I apologize.
Well, because we're looking at an idea of self-esteem and the idea of who am I? And if your parents didn't give that to you when you were a little kid, and instead taught you to hate yourself, to never feel enough, then we can see how people now don't have the tools in order to cope with healing and recovery and even confronting the problems at large.
See, that's something like I've talked about even on my channel as well. Like, my weight got out of control for a while. And now I'm holding a nice steady 245, 247, something like that. I didn't blame black people. I didn't blame trans people. I didn't blame my parents. I didn't blame the guy down the street because he has a much more... I hate to say this, there's a really bad echo, by the way, from somebody. Anyway, having said that... yeah, somebody's echoing.
I've tried muted everybody, but apparently I can't figure out who it is.
Yeah. But anyway, I think I could get past that. But anyway, I'm not blaming the guy who has a big Ford pickup truck with a nice new white paint job and chrome. My weight got out of control because of me. It's called looking in the mirror and taking responsibility. But this freaking society, especially here in a goofy American culture, it's the white man's fault. It's the politician's fault. It's Trump's fault. It's the this person's fault. It's that person's fault. No, maybe you're just an irresponsible fat fuck that can't keep their mouth shut and stop shoving food down your throat. I can't stand this denial of responsibility in today's culture where people cannot pick up a mirror and say, wow, I suck. I'm not good at it. I just saw a video from PragerU talking about this with this girl who was like what do you call that? Like one of those track runners. There's a terminology for it, but she's a runner. And she was supposed to be like some awesome state champion where she comes from, but then all of a sudden 2 trans men or trans womans or whatever the hell all of a sudden get these medals that are meant for girls because of the biological differences. Now all of a sudden they're attacking a biological female for complaining because 2 biological men won this medal. Where's the personal responsibility in that? And it's not fair. There's people who earn their keep and earn their way. If you suck at something, you suck at something, period. Don't scream that, well, because I'm awkward and I can't keep up with people. There are people that are better at things than I am, and I'm better at certain things than other people are. How it works is 2 people come together and you somehow marry your skills together, and then you can get things done. But people want to, like, well, I think it was you who said that, Goat, where it's like, we have like this problem of kind of like, taking the bull by the horns, because we have like a self-importance issue that we think we're all supermen and self-important and self-indulgent, that we're number one. Listen, nobody's number one, okay? Nobody on this planet's number one. We all eat, drink, shit, fart, burp, and die at the end of the day. That's how it works. So nobody's special, in my opinion. But it's all bullshit. Nobody wants to look in a mirror. Nobody wants to pick up the mirror and say, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the asshole in the equation. Maybe I need to change. It's like what you guys said, man.
Well, I've seen a couple of issues with those people, because the one thing that they don't want to bring up is they don't want to bring up that Fallon Fox, that UFC fighter that cracked that woman's skull. They don't want to bring that up. And another thing is, I saw on Facebook they were advertising, well, black people that talk about black love don't include transgender people. Like, motherfucker, no, y'all go get y'all own shit. Like, it's fucking wild, man. How everyone wants to be inclusive, but also like they want to be a part of something, but also an individual. And I thought that in America used to be fathers. We had fathers. You would become an individual. Then you would take your individual talent to the collective whole. Now we have people with a collective mindset wanting to look out for each individual, and that does not work. That does not. The fathers had it right. I hate to say it. The fathers had it right. You take your
Yeah.
That's in 1 Corinthians 11:3. It says, "Man is the head of the woman." Basically,
And then it's just it's funny. We listen to this advice on the daily, like don't have kids with these women. Yet we're not listening to the fathers that have the ability to actually, or steer things in a direction, have a purpose. Whether that purpose is something that makes you feel terrible about yourself, or makes you feel good about yourself, or makes you feel about yourself. Always be doing something, always be having a purpose. Don't save your purpose for somebody else later down the line, or later in the future, because that time may never come. And I if I ever get there myself with anything that I'm willing to carry with me, I'm always just hoping, am I too late? Because I don't want to miss my opportunities in life by following something that's, by holding off part of my future just for somebody else. That eventually I want to get there.
And that's the
myself.
conversation. That's the conversation that we were having last night with me. You remember me, you, and Sherm, and I'm Hidden. We're having that conversation last night, where it's like I hate. Where this is where I become a bad MGTOW. Where I'm not really a good MGTOW person, because it's hard for me to tell a man to not have kids when it's probably despite what I go through. My son's smiling face is the best thing I've ever seen. It's my marriage was hell, but I got him. The cohabitating, living with her was hell. I did want to run to the wolves. I did want to run to the woods, but yet I still have him. And I know it sounds like I'm trying to find a silver lining or a light at the end of the tunnel, but I'm not. I'm just saying that's exactly what it is. That light is there at the end of the tunnel, beginning of the tunnel, all around the tunnel. That's all that matters to me is his life. And I think so many men get caught up with the bullshit of the mother and her circumstances that we don't see the bigger light, and that is our future. So our future is dimmed and damned because they're not able to shine, because we're looking at the wrong fucking picture, the fucking woman.
Right now, it's just about day-to-day survival, and people are going to start understanding that really soon.
Yeah.
See,
I say, if you're worried about where your next meal is coming from, then don't engage in this type of behavior that's dragging you into all these messes, that's getting you into all these. Just detach from it, and the other person will understand. They'll understand.
Hey, Gotti,
Yeah.
You're gonna love my new series that I'm doing, because you were one of those guys I wanted to know about, like pellet guns and BB guns, to teach your gun how to arm himself when he gets older and all that stuff. You gotta want to pay attention to my new series that I'm gonna start. We need to start teaching our sons to be men. And I know you're one of those guys that it's not my place to get into your personal stuff, but teach your son, man. And I'm gonna be putting out videos where hopefully you can get some info off of that, man, and show your kid how to shoot. There are ways to get around it. For example, that new rifle that I got, the Gammo, you might want to pick that up for yourself and show your son how to shoot that thing, the Swarm Maxim. Teach him how to hunt, teach him how to shoot, teach him how to be self-sufficient, and teach him how to defend himself, man. We need to start teaching our sons to be men again. This is why there's this movement. That's why I'm going through what I'm going through, man, to get the man out of the house, because they want soft men. They want soft, weak, obedient, conformist, NPC, soulless men. That they don't want them to talk like this. And they just want them to be so soft and put on makeup, because men are so toxic with their testosterone. Oh my goodness, it's so violent and harsh and greedy and warmongers. But then meanwhile, we invented the airplane, electricity, running water, the automobile. You know what I mean? It's fucking pathetic, man. Teach your son how to shoot, my man. Teach that little man how to shoot.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to get that because I got him a BB gun, but I also want to have that pellet gun. The only reason I'm getting it so I can put it up, because he's only like, he's young now, but I'm getting it so that when they take all that stuff away, I still have it. Because I'm even getting stuff for myself. Nah, I didn't say that on air.
You know why teaching hunting, shooting, DIY, mechanics, etc. is good for boys and girls? It's not so much you're teaching them to be a man. You're teaching them to find who they are. They're getting their self-esteem by doing those activities.
Yes.
Do you know what? Because if I had a daughter, because I have a son, but if I had a daughter, I don't know if I teach her. This is weird. This is really weird. Do men really teach their daughters and son really that different? Do they really?
Not really.
They don't. I don't think we really do. Because
let me tell you, even at the house before everything fell apart, I would be outside mowing the lawn because her lazy ass brother was too busy trying to pretend he's a world famous DJ, which I'm not going to get into that. But I would be outside with my daughter.
That sounds like a funny story, but
I'm not getting into that. But
I deliberately sorry.
Yeah, suffice it to say, I would be outside, and my daughter immediately, when she sees Daddy with the garbage can and an actual shovel, she would go run and grab her little beach bucket with her little shovel, watching what Daddy's doing, imitating me. And then she would find a rock and say, "Hey, Daddy, look what I found." She would call it an egg. Those little white rocks that have been wanted. She would say, "Look, Daddy, I found an egg." And then I wash it off. I give her a big hug. I'd say, "Wow." And to a kid, that's like an adult finding a brick of platinum out there. You know what I mean? Fuck gold. It's like finding platinum. To a kid, that's everything, man. And we're losing that sort of thing, like showing our kids, like she took it upon herself.
Now have a mask, or like their parent talks to them with a mask on.
Yeah, the thing is, she took it upon herself. I remember many times, even my daughter, before my son was born, I'd be outside just cleaning up the front yard. She would go in immediately, without me even saying a word, and go grab her bucket, trying to emulate what I'm doing. Now that's parenting for you, man. When your kid actually shows interest in what you're doing, and she wants to learn. And then she says, oh no. And then she's like, she realizes she made mistakes doing some stuff. Or like, here's how you do it. And then you give her a big hug and you take her out for pizza or McDonald's, get her a kid's meal. You know what I mean? That's the kind of parent I still am. But today's parents, look out. COVID-19, we have to indoctrinate them with politics before they even know what's between their legs, or even to speak, to recite the alphabet and shit like that. We have to teach them about toxic masculinity and white privilege and racism before they even read a fucking Dr. Seuss book. It's fucking pathetic, man. It's fucking pathetic and disgusting how we've lost. We've allowed this to happen, man. We've allowed this shit to happen, and we have to fucking stop it from continuing.
Yeah, we're all being played. We're all being played right now.
Because I really feel like deep down, I hate to say it, but men have a hard external, but we're so fucking soft inside. Because I think about it, I shoot, stab, I go to war, but it's only because I'm a fucking jelly bean inside. I love so much that I fight for it.
You're supposed to do that.
As you
There's nothing
should,
wrong.
as a
There's
man.
nothing wrong with that.
We as men have our own way of showing compassion. We have our own way of exhibiting joy and happiness. We might be a little more stern and rough around the edges, but we have our own way of showing it. But unfortunately, today's society, I guess a man's love is racist too?
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Well,
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. A man's love is now prejudiced, racist.
Well, it wouldn't make sense if it didn't, if that wasn't true. So he's right.
The
He's
reason
right.
why that love would cause an injury, again, if you go back to childhood, if a child isn't shown the parental love that they deserve, they grow up finding abuse, like parental abuse, could be neglect, as their form of love. I mean, this kind of goes into that relationship where instead of going with a good guy, they go with the bad guy, and they see that being more affectionate than being with the good guy. They don't recognize what love is. So intimacy is very upsetting for them because that means being close to someone. That means being vulnerable, and that's a weakness. So they are scared to love. So if anything, if you try and show love to some of these people, they'll push it away. They don't want that. They want affection. They want attention and adoration. This is how they were raised. Their parents, instead of giving them love, they put them on a pedestal. So it's like, all right, you have a Barbie's dress or something like that, or you have, I don't know, like all the toys. You'll end up getting spoiled. I mean, spoiling a child is abusive. It promotes entitlement. It means they want instant gratification and a whole plethora of problems with it.
Aside, it makes the parents terrible people.
Yeah, because
if you don't, because they're not gaining anything from their child.
exactly,
They're putting all this resource into them, and
right.
then just disconnecting from actually the experience of growing that they don't necessarily experience with their child, but their grandchildren. They won't know what they won't understand how their grandchildren act because the entire time they were raising its mother or his or her mother, they were just being like this whole dispassionate parent and just like it's all for your own good
Yeah,
and kind of like just raising you.
I gotta go in a minute, but I'll quickly just end with this. I mean, yeah, love is exchanged for a transaction. So the parent spoils the child. The child realizes in order to get love, they must obey the parent's rule, and instead of getting love, they get spoiled. So that love, the concept of love, transforms into attention and adoration, and kind of taps into the survival because a child wants love in order to survive. So you go over the years, and that dynamic just gets worse and worse. So love goes down on the scale into the negative figures, and a transactional exchange goes up. I mean, it's abuse, totally abuse, and it's largely kind of how we are ending up into this kind of situation where how can that kid now grown up have a relationship? They can't really. There is no mutual. I mean, that kid ends up becoming self-important. They become like the world. I'm kind of phrasing this poorly, but because the child was born essentially to serve the parent, when that child grows up, they become the center of the universe. And so when they have children of their own, they repeat the cycle of abusive behavior, but magnified. It gets worse and worse and worse. So kind of like what we're seeing with society now is it's almost like it can't get any worse, but unfortunately it probably will. But it's like a crescendo of abuse after abuse after abuse on top of generation after generation and generation. So I mean, the children of the future are probably going to be worse than the parents that we have in society today.
Yep.
You know, and should they have children, they'll be even worse.
Oh yeah, because I know they say the Z generation is going to be work focused and hyper achiever. Just imagine what their kid's going to be. It's going to be like the World War II baby boomer.
I mean, how can
generation?
Yeah, I mean, how can you
turnover
expect
all over again?
How can you expect a child that's been abused since birth, now growing up, to be a good parent? It's impossible. They're just going to teach bad behaviors and transfer the blame and responsibility, neglect the child even more. I mean, it almost seems like there's no limit to it, but I don't know. Sorry, I'm gonna have to get going. Didn't mean to end that on well, for my part anyway, on a bleak note, but it's very important that this is why coming together, having talks is very important, so that we could try and put a halt to this madness that we're all witnessing.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Take care.
Thank you.
Take care. Take care, Billy. Well, guys, Well, guys, we should probably wrap up. That was a good note to leave on. Just for everyone to think about, and then think about the stuff that's happened in the past and reflect on it and how can it get better. That's all that we should focus on. How can it get better?
Yeah, that's my focus now. My focus now is not about really attacking the mother of my kids or the people that have done me wrong. Is matter of fact, I just want to even show guys. I think I'm gonna still start showing the content of how to move when these things happen, because I don't think telling guys not to do this is going to work.
No,
I mean,
it won't.
I just don't. And then because there's going to be guys that aren't going to do it, and then they're going to get mad and feel like they lost out in life because they didn't do it, and somebody steered them the wrong direction. Then there's guys that's going to do it anyway. And you know, so we just can't sit here and complain. We have to start putting some concrete down. Yeah, we got to put something down. 100%. Concrete. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, guys, it was great having you on. The Embers. Hopefully I can see you next week. And we're gonna play some outros. Does anybody want to do a insert before or end a thing? Or Americus, you got a verse?
I'll give you I want to piggyback off of something that No Sweetheart said like about 15 minutes ago. He brought out some scriptures, and the one scripture I was thinking about was that a house divided cannot stand. And basically, America is a house divided, and it will not be able to stand. And people just need to get prepared for the reality that things are not going to get better. And it's a matter of personal survival. And if you've got people you care about, you need to look out for them as well. Being a man, being a strong man, look out for the people you care about. And we were talking about, everybody has their own situation in life. And, some of us are dealing with really deep things and difficult situations. But if you go into the scriptures, it does talk about giving another man a cup of cold water, basically, to refresh him and, to give them that support that they need, when they reach those valleys in life and so forth. So one thing that we can do, aside from talk, is we can actually support each other when we need help. So that's my closing thought. Stay MGTOW.
Yes, sir.
All right. Everybody have a good rest of your afternoon and evening. And brother, stay in the backstage so we can just decompress from that. But here's some outros. Play Hidden's intro.